Hey everyone. The fly I'm going to be tying for you is a Perdigon, and I'm not really focusing on the pattern, although I will tie the pattern for you. It's more about the style of fly. Perdigons are designed to be thin and small. The Spanish anglers came up with them. They were coming up with a fly, and the whole thought process behind it was, how do we get a small, thin fly down deep as quickly as possible, especially in heavy type water? They realized that any dub fly or a fly that had hackle or any appendages sticking out, it was going to slow the descent of the fly because it's like a parachute effect. So this accomplishes what they wanted. It just cuts through the water like a knife, gets into the feeding zone as quick as possible. And if you haven't incorporated this fly into your box, you really should. I mean, this is definitely my favorite style fly to use when I'm nymphing. So let's just get one in the vise. And once again, I'm going to focus on technique with you to show you how to tie that perfect Perdigon, okay? So we're going to be tying Devin Olsen's Lite Bright in the Peacock version. This is a size 16 Hanak 400 with a 2.8 mil bead. It's silver. The thread we're going to be using is a UTC 70. What I love about Perdigons is you can size up a bead. You can go to a 3.3 or you can go down to a 2.3 and use the same hook. They're really, really versatile. Now, you can see I didn't build that dam behind the bead. Too many people do that. It's an unnecessary step and it creates too much bulk because remember, we're trying to make very slim flies and it's very difficult to do when you're building all this bulk behind the bead. We're using CDL or Coq de Leon as the tailing fiber. Pull 3 fibers off. I've seen videos where people say, you know, pull 6 or 8 fibers off. It's too many. You don't need that many fibers. If you put too many fibers in, you're going to slow the descent of the fly, which goes against what you're trying to accomplish, which is get that small fly down quick. We're going to use Hareline Peacock Crystal Flash as the body. Now, I've seen videos where people take the thread down and they try to tie that crystal flash at the end of the body of the fly, and sometimes they're fighting it. They're taking the thread and they're going over the crystal flash, and the crystal flash wants to roll over the hook. The best thing to do is put the crystal flash at the front, put it underneath the bead, between the thread and the bead, and you can see how easy that was. It just captures it in there as easy as can be. Grab the thread and the crystal flash together, and then just take the flat thread down the hook shank. Okay, everything's in perfect alignment. You can go ahead and cut off this excess tail. Tailing fiber there, and there's a little bit of crystal flash. We can cut that off. Boom. Okay. Now, once again, you want to keep this thread flat. You can see it's flat. When you spin this thing flat, it keeps the fly thin. We want to do that. If we cord it up, it's going to create too much bulk and have all this rib. So we just want to take it up. You can see that thread was really flat there. Okay. Now, there is a slight taper. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but don't take the thread. There's no reason to take the thread all the way back down and back up and back down to build this taper. There is a slight taper because when you take that thread back up with touching wraps, it's going to create a little taper. And then when you get to the end, you can just take it down maybe a third and add a little more, but just keep this very thin. We're going to put a hot spot collar on behind the bead, but what I like to do is take the underbody thread off, okay? I see a lot of people build the whole fly and then put the hot spot on after it's done, and once again, what that does, it ends up adding a lot of bulk. So we can put the thread on now. This is a 16-knot Veevus in Fluorescent Orange. We can go ahead and put the thread on now And when we take the crystal flash up, it's just going to be very easy to finish that fly. So let's go ahead and we're going to wind this up with, it's one strand with touching wraps. Be careful not to pull the crystal flash too tight, because if you do, it ends up stretching the crystal flash and then the color starts fading out. So take that crystal flash, and I don't know if you noticed it, but I tucked it right in the slot of the bead there. And when you do that, the reason we're doing that is when we cut the crystal flash off, sometimes you get a little bit of tag in, and you can kind of tuck it in that bead. The same goes with the thread. When we finish that off, make sure you cut it on top of the fly, and if there's a tag, you can hide it when we epoxy it with the resin. Go ahead and cut that off. And I like very subtle hot spots. I see videos where a third of the fly has this enormous hot collar. You don't need to do that. I like subtle hot spots, and believe me, the trout will see it. So just a 2-turn whip finish. We're going to go ahead and cut this off. You can see this fly is extremely thin and looks really, really nice. The UV resin we're going to use, there's no label on it, but trust me, it's Solarez Bone-dry. What I use is, I saw this, I got these from Amazon. I'll post it in the description. I saw it in another video a while ago. These are great. I don't like taking the brush, because after you use it, after a while, the brush is enormous and you can't control the amount going on. Or if you use a loon, any type of UV that drops on, I don't like doing that because you really can't control the amount going on. So if you don't have these brushes, you can use a bodkin the same way, but just put a little on the brush, okay? Now you can really control the amount that goes on here. And we're just gonna paint it on. We're just gonna put a light coat. Be careful not to get it on the tail. Just spread it out. And that looks really nice. I spin it while I'm grabbing my UV light, and let's just check it. Looks really good, and we're just gonna go ahead and zap it. That looks really nice. It's the perfect taper right there. So the next step is, I like for the black wing case on top, a lot of people use nail polish. I don't love nail polish. I used to use it all the time before they came out with Gulff, which is a black UV resin, and once again, the label came off. After you use this stuff a while, everything starts peeling off. But nail polish, it always sinks in that slot of the bead, and you end up having to keep putting it on there, and you never can really control it. This you can control, but like anything else, less is more. There's a lot of air in this. I have a business card down here, so I squeeze it until the air comes out. I take my left hand and I steady the vise with my right. Now just let it come out ever so slightly. Dab it in there. And the great thing about this is it's really thick, so it takes its time sinking into that slot. I just wait it out. It's sinking in there. Now it's exactly where I want it, and now I'm going to zap it. So everything is about control. You control your thread, you control the wraps, you control the number of tailing fibers on, you control the amount of UV, and certainly you can control the amount of resin for the wing case. Now, I take one last step. What happens with this wing case is, it can, this fly is going to bang off rocks. It's going to bang off the bottom of the stream, and it'll chip off. So, and another thing is, I'm really anal on this thing. It dulls a little when you touch it. What I like to do, just to give it a little bit more durability, is I just put a thin layer of hardest hole on, and once again, emphasis on thin. I really brush it off and then I just take it, I just hit it right there. And what's gonna happen is that is gonna settle down, it's gonna dry really flush, it's gonna stay shiny, and more importantly, it's gonna remain durable. So there you go. There is Devin Olsen's Lite Bright Perdigon. It's a fantastic bug. I'm just gonna say once again, if you haven't put these in your box, you really should. They're my favorite style fly. I mean, I have boxes devoted to these things. This is a tacky fly box, holds 168 flies. Just this box right here has size 16s with 2.8 mil beads. I have another one with 2.3s. I have a size 18 2.3s, and I have another box with 16s and 3.3s. So you get the picture. I love these things. So once again, that is how you tie a Perdigon style fly the right way. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them for me. I'm happy to help you out. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the support. And once again, everybody, tight lines. See you later. Bye.